Okay, everybody, this is Sheets, and we're going to be going over the MMA card for Saturday, July 24th. And for those of you that were on this stuff last week, I mean, we really, really nailed it. I hope you guys did well. I happen to have done really well. We were all over basically three underdogs. Two of them won, and one of them basically broke the slate. Billy Quarantillo, I think he was the highest scoring fighter on the whole slate as an underdog. So we did very, very well, and basically every favorite that we liked won also. So can't promise we're going to do that again, but we're going to approach the slate the same way we do most of them. And I do think there's it's a little different this week with respect. I don't have any huge, strong leans for the underdogs, but I do know which ones we're going to be including in our player pool, and they're going to be determined in large part based on these inside the distance props and pace and style and things that we'd like to look at. The first fight I want to look at, though, again, just because it's the first fight on the card here, and just to kind of illustrate a point, Goldie and Belbita, because of various line movements, you have this being almost a straight pick'em, yet in the DraftKings odds, you do have Goldie priced as almost a 6.5 to 5 favorite. So you do get some win equity with Belbita. All right. Now, I'm not saying it's a priority play or anything like that, but I definitely would play Belbita over Goldie for that reason. You just get a little inherent equity in there. But for GPPs, I don't think that she has enough, finishing upside to get there. Like if you look at these inside the distance props, it's just really, really weak. I mean, at the very least, you want to get a pick'em with under 2.5 rounds. Ideally, you want to get close to a pick'em under 1.5 rounds. But this is just a very, very weak fight to target with respect to GPPs. We'll get back to Eubanks in a minute, but let's look at the kind of the key fights here. I guess the first one is we should talk about the main event real quick. Not even real quick. As usual, this is a fight that you want to target. I mean, until DraftKings changed their pricing algorithms to account for this 5-round situation, these are just almost always going to be, very strong fights to target. I will also say that I think I have a lean towards Sandhagen, but not that big of one. So I am going to play both sides of this. You have a good finishing prop. You have the 5-round floor. You have the pricing, which is very reasonable. Like on DraftKings, you have this fight being an 8,800, 7,400 fight. So both of these guys are pretty much in play. Dillashaw's coming off kind of a steroid layoff, and Sandhagen's been really, really sharp. So Sandhagen deserves to be the favorite, I believe. That's what I've been told. But Dillashaw does have some tricks. He has some grappling as well, which is what we like to see. So I am going to have both of these guys. So when you think about what underdogs you're going to have to play or going to be in your player pool, Dillashaw is certainly going to be one of them. So let's put him in here, just because he's certainly an underdog. It's got to be in the player pool. Next fight I kind of want to look at, we kind of go down a little bit, is Costa Yanez. You'll see that this one is almost a pick'em for it to be under 1.5 rounds, which is about as sharp as you can get with respect to the types of inside the distance props that you're going to be, that are going to be available. That's about as low as you're ever going to see. So you're going to want to get both sides of this fight. So Yanez, he's going to be 9K, and it makes sense. I mean, he's going to be a 2-to-1 favorite. But Costa certainly swings wild. He goes for the finish. His inside the distance prop relative to hit price is really strong as well. So this is going to be a fight where Costa is going to be one of the underdogs that are in the player pool. And it is actually going to be a fight that you're probably going to want 100% of. So the Costa fight, Costa Yanez, the Dillashaw Sandhagen fight, these are both fights that you're probably going to want to get 100% of, or close to it at least. And you wouldn't mind getting either side of it. So Costa is going to be one of probably the live underdogs that you're going to have to play in your player pool. we'll get back to the Heinisch Imavov fight, but the other one, which is going to be a huge standout, is Alan Soriano. Same thing. I mean, the inside the distance prop is extremely strong. The pricing is just elite. I think they're both 8,100 or at least close to it. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, 8,200 to 8,000. So this is another one which, you know, you're going to get probably 100% of, or at least close to it. Just the inside the distance prop and you know, the chance that the fight finishes is just so strong. Given these price points, it's going to be difficult to fade. So I don't really have an opinion on one way or the other with these fighters. So you know, whichever one was going to be lower owned, if you had to pick one, I would do it that way. And you can go to my my sheets available on TrueDFS for premium members to get like ownership projections and things like that. But this is definitely a fight that you're going to certainly want to key. This next one, this Heinisch Imavov, I actually kind of have an opinion, is that although you're the inside the distance prop is not great, Heinisch does throw a decent bit of volume. So if you want to get a little bit of differentiation, Heinisch might be a good play. I'm not going to play any of Imavov though. Williams and Gall is going to be a pass for me. Both sides. You know, on some slates, this actually might be an okay inside the distance prop. Sometimes you'll see it that like the only what you're going to need is just to get a pick 'em inside of 2.5 rounds. But with all those other key fights that I talked about, I just think this is going to fall off. So I don't think I'm going to be playing this one. And likewise, Maverick Barber. I mean, doesn't seem that intriguing. You know, I've heard a lot of people like Maverick. So I guess at she's minus 150, and her price on DraftKings is let's see, 8,400. So maybe that's a little bit of value there. But it's not someone I'm going to get 100% of. It's not someone I'm going to key or anything like that. But certainly in the player pool, I don't think I'd play Barber. I think that the win equity is just a little bit better with Maverick. Another one which could be a decent fight to target is this Minner Elkins fight. Now here's where you're going to be drawn into some narratives here. So Minner used to be a guy who just went crazy in the first round and then just kind of gassed out. But in his last fight, he found some cardio and did very, very well. And I've been seeing in the industry people going back and forth on whether that's kind of a real change for him or whether it's just because his matchup against Costa just kind of allowed him to do that. He does have a good trainer with respect to Krause, but I have seen Krause's fighters gas out a couple of times as well. So I have this weird feeling that this fight might get a little over-owned. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do here. But I'm probably just going to stick to the numbers and probably avoid this one. But if anything, I'll get a sliver of each, but not a key fight. Now we're getting into some favorites who are probably just going to win, right? Well, we'll get back to them. Lad Chiasson, again, I just can't see any reason to play this. The inside the distance prop is poor. The pricing is not, there's nothing to stand out there. I really don't see any reason to play that fight. And then you get to these big favorites, like Kyler Phillips is, from what I can understand, is basically a lock. He's a big $9,200 price tag, and his fight doesn't go to decision line is really not that strong. See, that's the problem. So I would not, make it a huge priority to play it. I mean, his win equity is so strong, but I don't know if I really need someone with a low inside the distance prop like that. When you have a Yanez, for example, when he wins, he's going to finish. So I prefer him as the 9K favorite. The other one that I guess the only fight we didn't talk about yet. Well, do we look at this Ewell fight? Same issue. No, nothing to see there. And then this Sylvia Eubanks or Ciara Eubanks fight. I mean, she's just an enormous favorite. For a women's fight, this is actually not the worst inside the distance prop. It is a pick 'em to finish pretty much, which is very rare in a women's fight. So if you want to play Eubanks, you can. But again, that price, you know, when you have someone who is, where is she? I mean, is she the most expensive fighter on the slate? Yeah, she's 9,300. Like both of these, you know, Eubanks, Phillips, I mean, their win equity is really high, but their finishing rate is just not that big. You know, it's not that high. So, you know, you don't have to lock in guys like this. I remember last week we had, who was it? O'Malley or whatever, who, even though it was 9,400, I thought just basically should be locked in. But this one, I don't know if either of these fighters, Eubanks or Phillips, for example, are like 100% to get the optimal, even if they win. So I'm gonna play them, but I'm not gonna go crazy. And the one thing I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna go the opponent. I'm not gonna go Reed. I'm not gonna go Paiva. I feel as though I have better underdogs out of those other key fights than having to dip into that range. Did I mention Heinisch? I don't know if I mentioned Heinisch, but yeah, he's got enough volume that I think he can get there as well. So what you haven't seen from me in this particular video is some straight out picks and leans, right? Like last week I had a couple. This week it's just going to be based on keying on these fights here, and you know, getting the right combinations of underdogs from hopefully these key fights. Like if you can get, you know, Brandon Allen, Dillashaw, Costa, you get those guys, two of those three guys to win, you're in business. That's the only way that for me I would want, and that's the way you're going to get guys like, you know, fighters like Eubanks and Phillips, for example, is if you play Costa and Allen and Dillashaw, etc. Right? So it's fine. You know, you're gonna, and the thing is, if those guys win, then the other 9K fighters that they were fighting aren't going to win. So you might not need a full, you know, 100 points out of these Eubanks Phillips plays to make them work. So that's pretty much it. I guess the one fight I still have to do a little bit more homework on is that Minner Elkins thing. Maybe that is. Maybe the three fighters such as Minner, Maverick, who was that other 8,600? Heinisch. Maybe those are the three kind of hoodoos at 8,600 that maybe if they do well can outscore those 9K guys. So those are going to be the guys the fighters I play as well. So probably a little Maverick, probably a little Heinisch, probably a little Minner. But the majority are going to come from those key fights that I described. The main event, the Castellanos fight, the Alan Soriano fight. Yeah. All right. Good luck, everybody. Hopefully we can do as well as last week. But at the very least, we did some decent analysis. And, you know, hopefully you guys do well. Have a good weekend.